Hello everyone, my name is Metros, and today we're going to be covering the roster changes and how I believe that they will play out in this upcoming Blast tournament. Group A is made up of Vitality, EG, NIP, and Complexity. Now we've seen some roster changes amongst these groups, the main being in EG's roster, but most of them have stayed the same. So for Vitality, coming off that major win, there wasn't much that they needed to change. They opted to drop Dupree. He was an older player. He wasn't performing the best, but he was sort of a support role for the team. But they went to drop him and replaced him with someone with a completely different play style. They went and got Flames from OG. Flames is not the flashiest player. However, he does have his moments, like 1v3 play I'm sure we've all seen on Mirage. I'm sort of concerned that they went to add another high fragger, not really a support player on his old team, but we'll see if he can sort of mold himself into assisting his team in that role. They're going to be facing off against EG. The most changes out of any lineup in this group, a lot was going to happen, and then nothing was going to happen, and then they just went complete 180 on it. So what was originally going to happen was, I believe, Electronic, Zorte, and Elige were going to sort of create an international super team on this lineup. However, one thing led to another, deals fell through, and nothing of that happened. So instead they were left to drop 4 of their players, including Refresh, who, talk about a fall from grace. He was very good up-and-comer for Copenhagen Flames back in 2020. He joined Heroic, had a great stint with them, even won Pro League. We all know that iconic Cadian Mirage 1v4 to win Pro League against Gambit. Yeah, he was on that team. Not a lot of people remember that he was a good player, especially not after his recent performances. I would have loved to see him get a lot more respect and time on that roster. Instead of sticking with him, they went and picked up basically the entirety of their quote-unquote academy team, EG Black. They have players like Junior, who I am super excited to see in this tournament, back in Tier 1. He was on Triumph with Sheikh Zula and Cooper in early 2020. In early 2020, he was sort of blossoming into, wow, this kid's a great opper. Let's see if he has it on Tier 1. And then he joined Furia. That move sort of took a pause on his career because, thinking about it right now, it doesn't make sense why Furia would go for an up-and-coming, not proven NA opper. But, they did, and respect to Junior for taking his opportunity to go for it. Do I think it was a good decision? Not really. It was probably good that he got that experience, but it just wasn't the right opportunity for him to take, So that sort of sent him back, but he's really been flourishing against teams like Nouns and B-Hop and sort of other low NA tier teams that are like 100th ranked in the world. So he's been really consistent as a top frag in those ranks. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have much of a shot going up against Zywoo in his first game back in Tier 1, but it will be interesting to see. Now going into this lower matchup of NIP and Complexity, we see Elige, the baby of Liquid, always been in, for as long as I can remember, my man was on Liquid. And to save an ACS, instead of going international, he stayed with a local NA team like Complexity. I really like Complexity's owner. You can tell he wants the best for the org. So I think it made sense for him to join, but I just don't think the lineup has star power that he's used to having. Halzerk, good player, can be amazing at times. Then you have players like Fang, who got dropped for Elige to take his spot. I don't understand why Fang was the move and not JT. I could be missing something, but JT was a way worse performer. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think they're going to have much of success early on. I think they still need a few more key pieces. Grim has really taken a few steps back since joining Liquid and leaving Liquid on this Complexity lineup. So it's going to be interesting how he plays going back with another one of his old teammates. So hopefully it brings out the best of him again. but they're going to be going up against NIP. Everyone knows that Alexi B got dropped and picked up by Navi, and that was because he got benched and replaced with Hampus. This NIP lineup has a lot of promising things, but it's just like they can never fire on all cylinders, and there's a lot of choking that they do. So Headtrick, the Opper, who's up and coming, great Ukrainian player, love him, think he's really good for the future of the team, has been playing outstanding. Him and Rez both have been very solid. Brolin only really shines on maps like Overpass. And same sort of deal with Config. Config, love him, but it's just like very hot or cold with him. And we need to see consistency from him as well as Rez and Headtrick firing at the same time to get sort of results that we want to see from this NIP roster to bring NIP sort of back to the glory days. I think Vitality easily wins this group though, as many people do. The only thing I see that could stop them is themselves just not being as locked in as they were for the major. You know, winning that major took a lot out of them, took a lot of pressure. So playing without the pressure as much is going to be very interesting to see how they sort of respond to having the freedom again. Now going into Group B, we have Heroic, Big, Navi, and Astralis. So there's a lot of changes in this group. Heroic opted to make no changes. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't see why you would make changes, seeing as you've got Stown, definitely the best rifler. You've got Cadian, key player for the culture of the team, as well as the strats and a great opper. And he's been playing out of his mind recently. Now, Shush, Yabi, and Tessus are all great riflers. They all do their jobs amazingly, and they are all very consistent. And it's basically just a matter of map on when one pops off. Now, this team could have an amazing year, could also have a terrible year, as there has been no change, and a lot of times teams with no change can sort of get stagnant and not make the change, or not make the progression that we always want to see. But they're going to be going up against Big in the opening round. Not going to be a competition. Big's lineup is basically Big Academy plus. They added Prosis and Sin from the Academy team. You know, Prosis has been a stand-in for the main team at times, so no doubts that he can do it after some time and progress with the team, that he could be a main fixture in their team. But I don't agree with the Sin promotion. I really like Crimbo and Tabson as a duo, but I also don't think that they're going to be having the pieces around them to sort of get the job done at that top level. Now, they also got Mantu, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. He hasn't played in over a year. When he did play, he was dropping good numbers, pretty consistent as an opper, but sort of just, I wonder how stale he is, as he has not been on a team or very active in recent times. Now, after that, we have a great matchup. Two almost entirely new rosters, I want to say. We've got Navi versus Astralis. So Navi's made a lot of changes. I can see why they'd make the changes, you know, like I was just saying with Heroic. Same roster for a while. Changes were needed to be able to sort of hit their peak and reach their full potential. So they dropped MPL, totally agree. He had about a 2-week span earlier this year where he was lights out, but you know, he wasn't progressing with the team, wasn't up to where he needed to be. Maybe he can go to a tier 2 team and show that he has that skill level. Electronic and Perfecto, I get that they're sort of a package right now. Cloud9 is pursuing them. I really like Electronic. I don't think it was fair to him to cut him, but I also understand that they want to make a shakeup. Perfecto has been underperforming, but also has been picking it up in recent times. But again, it's not really a performance thing. It's more of a fresh start, hit their peak. And in the place of all these, they've brought in an Ime, JL, and Alexi B. I'm very interested to see how Alexi B manages these three, or may I say 2 personalities, because JL, very strong personality, simple as everyone knows, super strong personality. So we're going to see how, if they clash, what it's sort of like. And then on top of that, Ime, JL, and Simple are all used to carrying their teams. You know, Ime had an amazing major to wrap up CSGO with Gamer Legion, and then J Legend, as he nicknamed himself, was amazing for Apex. Now, putting all of these players into positions to be the best is going to be really tricky, I think, for AlexiB. And I feel like he's going to be the scapegoat, and after probably this tournament, and maybe if he makes it to IEM, after that tournament for sure, if they don't see instant success, Navi's going to be calling for his head, and he is going to be the one that takes the fall. So I don't think that this lineup is going to gel. They could prove me wrong and be amazing. We've seen AlexiB call for teams like G2 and Monacy and seen a lot of success there. I'm also sort of interested to see Simple and AlexiB's relationship, as we know Simple is sort of a hothead with IGLs. You know, SDY didn't really have the greatest time. And even then, SDY can frag. AlexiB, not so much. So we're going to really see how much patience Simple is sort of giving to this project that they're building at Navi. Going into Astralis, I hate this move. I hate everything about it. I like Stare, but I don't agree with dropping Glaive, Zipix, and Altex basically in the span of a month. You know, I think they should have dropped Buzz rather than drop Altex. I think Altex was bringing more to the lineup, and he'd been there for less time. I think Buzz was sort of stale and is stale still. So we're going to really see how that plays out, if they made the right choice in keeping him along for the ride. I will say I hate Borup's addition. I understand that Stare, I believe is his name, was performing amazing. And I'm totally fine with them sort of promoting him from a Danish feeder in Sprout. But I really disagree with this Borup move. I've covered a lot of Copenhagen Flames, RIP, a lot of Copenhagen Flames matches, and I would have never taken anyone except for Farley, which Astralis had taken earlier, but now they have Device back, no need to have him again. So I don't think there's anyone from that lineup that they should be touching in a tier 1 team of their stature and their reputation. Don't think it's going to work out. I think Device and Blameth are going to be hard carrying. And I think Stare has what it takes to play at tier 1. I don't think Borup does, and I think that Buzz needs to go back to a tier 2 team, or maybe back to the academy team, you know? I think this is a great opening match for Navi to show off their new lineup. I think this lineup is going to be able to win and be proud that they beat a team with Device and Blameth. But I also think that it's going to be an easy challenge. Like, they're not going to have many struggles. They can probably play around with positioning and strat calling and putting Emet and JL in different positions for a lot of the game. So I still think Heroic walk away with this group. There is an outside chance that maybe, just maybe, Navi really gels, you know, and makes it through. But other than that, I don't think Astralis have a shot, and I definitely don't think that Big has a shot with their roster. Finally, making it into Group C, we've got FaZe versus OG, and then we have G2 versus Liquid. So we have two teams, FaZe and G2, that top teams did not make any changes to the roster. Don't see any problem with making no changes, you know. Both of them have solid lineups. It's clear that the lineups like each other and that there's no beef within the roster to make changes for. I think we could see a change for Hunter or JKS moving forward for G2 if they don't start seeing progression, just because maybe adding a third star to the Nico and Monacy duo could propel them up to that major winning feat that Nico has never been able to achieve. I also think for FaZe, the next player out, I don't really see a next player out other than Twists, just based off of statistics. Rain's been playing really well, however he is old, so maybe he'll retire soon. Kerrigan, same sort of deal. Great IGL though, I don't see anytime soon. And then Rops and Brokey are super solid players. Now going into Liquid. Liquid's a very hot topic right now, especially in NA, which is my region. I don't like these moves. Why would you, I just don't understand for the organization standpoint why they would pull out of NA where they were the NA team. They were the NA talent. They were the number one. They were always basically guaranteed a spot in the major because of the RMR qualifier has very minimal competition. But now they're basically guaranteeing that they're not going to be in an early CS2 major. They won't be in the first one, sure, for sure. Like I'd put money on the fact that they don't make the first CS2 major with this lineup. Rainwaker, don't have anything against him. I covered his team a lot in my prize picks betting on 500, but that is a tier 2, tier 3 team. He's never faced players that he is going to be facing, especially starting off against G2. I think it's going to be a rude awakening. I think this is sort of the equivalent of what I was talking about earlier with the Junior to Furia move. Doesn't really make sense that he's joining this team, and then definitely doesn't make sense that he's just propelling straight into tier 1 off of sort of not proving anything beforehand. Same with the Patsy move. I don't really get it. I understand OC is the opper, so they can't pick up Wonderful from that lineup, but I would have loved them to pick up sort of a rifler like Donk. If they're going to go CIS with it to match Yakindar, I would have loved to see Donk from Spirit Academy make it up. HLTV recently posted something saying that he's a name for the future, and I completely agree. I've been covering him for half a year now and doing my research and watching him play. He really has what it takes to be on this tier 1 sort of level. And I do not think Patsy does. You know, he's not a terrible player. However, his stats show that he is not really anything special, especially on that Team Spirit team that plays a lot of low tier 1 and high tier 2 teams, that he sort of struggles at times. Unless he's coming to play a support role, I don't think it's going to gel together at all for this roster. So I see G2 easily beating them, and I see Faceit easily beating OG. Don't have much to say about OG. You know, Regali, I love him. Great to bring him onto this roster full time, as he was playing stand-in for Dexter while he was gone. Nexa coming back in. Interesting. I wonder how he's going to play after being inactive. I think they could have found a different player to sort of step into that role. I guess they did need someone with experience, so that's sort of what he's fitting into on this team. But I guess we'll see how it goes. You know, keeping Fiku as the only player remaining is interesting to me, as he wasn't the main personality of this team or one of the main fraggers of this team. But you know, they couldn't keep Flames, and then I guess they wanted to go Regali over Dexter. Recently today we saw Fallen has officially left Imperial. We're going to assume that him and Cello are going to Furia, although it is not written yet, but we assume that they're going to be doing the 2-for-2 swap sort of on this roster. I think that's very huge for Furia. Hopefully he can take the IGL responsibility off of Art and allow Art to be Art. You know, Art is one of those players that loves playing by himself, playing his own sort of thing. So I think that's going to be great to sort of give him freedom to not have to worry about what everyone else is doing and sort of just play his own game. My signing of the summer, basically, is going to be Falcons. I think they've done tremendous work keeping NBK and Body, since they've been pretty solid still late into their careers, but then additionally bringing in the likes of MHL, Boros, and Lauenex. I think those are beautiful additions to this roster. I think it's a star-studded lineup from low tier 1, high tier 2 teams, and that they're going to gel really well together since they are all aggressive players, and it's going to feel like Team Liquid back in the day when they were IGL'd by Stewie and were just super aggressive on everyone. So that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, or link in the description rather, to join our Discord community. We do a lot of prize picks betting. We have a very high hit rate, and we're going to make sure that even though we have all these unforeseen roster changes and players aren't going to be playing to their full potential, that you're still going to have confident bets to place. Let's keep it going into the next one, and I'll see you guys later.